Hey guys, it's Chris. Okay, so I super duper lowered my camera so you'd be closer to my desk for this February insert we're going to create. And so I don't know, everything could be in my way here. We're just gonna have to see. Yeah. Closer to my desk for this. There we go. Okay, I think we're good. So let me just share this over to my classroom quickly and then we will get started. So when I created this March insert for the Perpetual Calendar, I had lots of people ask me if I had done the January and February. And I didn't teach January and February as live classes. So we are kind of going backwards. So I wanted to pick something that was still available, that you could still purchase. So I pulled out the February months of the year stamp set. And just give me 1 second here. Okay. I think we're good now. So I have kind of a rough idea as to what I want to do, but this might be a little bit of a work in progress as we go along. Okay, so this was the March one. Okay, I'm just going to make you a little bit bigger now because you don't need to see me this big. Okay. There we go. Okay, so when I created the March one, we played with some texture paste and ink and Stickles gel. And then we used the March same series, so months of the year, but we used the March one. Hey, Carrie. And then these are actually one of my favorite things from the annual idea book. I love this in particular, this bracket set. I think it's the size of it that I like. So I did use that and we did some coloring and all those fun things. So if you missed March and you want to go back and watch it, it's in the videos. Okay, so like I said, we're going to go a little bit backwards and we're going to do February. So when I think of like Valentine's Day and February, I think of like those, and when I looked at this stamp set, these little things, it reminded me of like those little sweet tart things. So that's how I kind of picked the colors. And I thought we'd play with some Distress Oxide inks and see what happens. Like I said, I don't have like a formal plan in place. We're just going to, it should work. In my head it works. Sometimes that doesn't always end up on paper the same way, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I want to create a little background to sit on this scalloped black piece of cardstock. So I just cut with my Cricut a piece of black cardstock with a scallop border because it reminds me of like those old Valentines that you used to like punch out and cut out and all those fun things. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to play with the Distress Oxide inks and we're going to create a little background to sit on top of that black piece of cardstock. So Distress Oxides are fun. They're different than our inks and that they constantly react as long as they're still wet. They'll stop reacting once they're dry. So like I said, I have picked raspberry here, abandoned coral, and then peacock feather. This is probably my favorite color combination for almost anything anyway. So we're just going to play a little bit. So I have my all-purpose mat down, and I'm just going to move my Versamark a little bit. I just have some water in my spray pen, and I'm going to grab a water brush, and we're just going to create our background. So you can use any sort of color combination you want, or is whatever your preference is. So I'm just going to put a little bit of the 3 different colors down on my mat, like so. And then I'm going to spray them. And then, so you can paint it on your background. You can like brush it on with your blending tool if you prefer. I want that kind of splotchy kind of look because I'm creating just a fun little background. So I'm just going to spray each of them with a little bit of water, and you'll see the inks bead up. And then, so I'm just going to create this one. I have one that's already dried, but we're going to just have some fun. And so then I could take it, and you can just dip it right in, and then you can still move it around. Okay, and so I'm just going to add some of the colors on here. We're going to create a background basically. You can push the cardstock down into it. Just remember though, with the blue, you're going to get color mixing happening too, right? So, okay. So I actually really like what's happening, but we'll just keep on going. So I'm just, as I'm touching it down, I'm pushing pressure onto the paper where I want to pick up the color. Okay. And I want a little bit more pink, I think. There we go. Okay, so I am okay. And I obviously don't need a very big piece for the insert. I thought I would just make a big piece so you guys can see. So you can see how I've got some color blending happening here. So that's one way you could add it to your background. Also then, if you want more and you want to know exactly where you're going to put it, you can actually just add it to your background. I thought I had a plastic bag here. I grabbed just a piece of plastic, and we're just going to pick some up and add it. But I just have to move this over a little bit because I think maybe okay. Well, I'm not really sure where that piece of plastic went. Let's just grab another piece of plastic. Okay, so this is just a smaller packaging. Hey, Loretta. And I see Carla popped on too. So I like the smaller piece of plastic because I can put my hand in it and I feel like I have more control. So let's say there's a specific area. I just need some more water here in this pink over here. Because February is a lot about pinks and reds and oranges. So then I just feel like I have more control when I can actually put my hand in the plastic bag. You can do the same with the paper packaging. It's just, it's bigger. Okay, and then you can add it more directly where you would like it. This would also be awesome for, this totally reminds me of too, see I've got purple happening here now. Would be awesome for Easter. Okay, so I would just keep playing with that until, hey Judy, I would just keep playing with that until I get it exactly how I like it. So obviously I only need a really super small piece, and I could actually play with this forever. But you can also then, so you can take your water brush and pick up more of the ink if you want it in specific spots, or you can actually splatter with your water brush too. So I still have lots of ink on here, so I can pick it up in my water brush and then just splatter my background. And then also the water's still going to be reacting with that Distress Oxide ink too. So, and you can add as much or as little as you want. If you wanted to, you could also just paint on specific areas if you wanted more color in certain areas also. And just squeeze out whatever you don't need. So lots and lots of fun things you can do with that. So just let me get a wet wipe, because I'm going to wipe off my background here. So that's kind of what I thought I would use as my background. And the fun thing is, I think every piece is so different. So I'm just going to take a wet wipe and I'm just going to move this out of the way. Okay, and then you probably don't want to go on to like a next step with it until it's dry. Just going to put the lids on all my water here so I don't end up with a bigger mess. Okay. So you can see like they're all different. This is another one I did earlier, right? And it just kind of depends on how much you dip it and how much you play around with it as to how much it spreads. But everything looks different and is just lots of fun, right? Okay. So we're just going to move these slightly off to the side. I knew my, see, I'm going to find everything as we work here. I'd lost the background earlier, so I pulled out another one. Okay. So you can, like I said, keep playing with that until you're happy with the results of the ink. But we're also going to do some stamping with it, okay? So I'm going to just show you. Okay. Here's the piece that I did earlier, just so that it would be nice and dry for us to move on. Okay. Put this behind me. And, okay, so from here, I think my thought process is, I think I want to take the February and I'm going to add it with silver embossing powder. And then we're going to stamp this with the Distress Oxide and add it. And then maybe a cupcake or two. And that's kind of it for this one. And then we might splatter some stuff at the end. So I think maybe we will do the February first. Let's see if this block is long enough. Ooh, it is. Okay, so I haven't used this yet. So the reason that I did this before is because I was going to emboss it, and so I wanted it to be super dry before I did that. So I'm just going to put some anti-static powder on here, and I have my Versamark, and let's just put down the little back side of my mat. Okay. hopefully this, I don't think I've actually used this one yet. So hopefully we've got enough of the, and too funny. Okay, so then I also just found my plastic bag, guys. I said I would find everything over the course of doing this. Okay, so I was just thinking I was going to do something first. But I think it's totally, oh, I was going to get a scrap piece of paper and put it underneath here to catch the embossing powder. That's what I was going to do. Okay. So now I'm just making sure that I have lots of Versamark on my February. So this is just going to let that embossing powder stick on here. Okay. And which way will I go? No, I think I'm going to go this way. Okay, I'm just going to give that a second to settle. Let's just see how I did there. If we have to, we can cut another piece. And let's hope that the silver stands out enough. Oh, pretty good. Okay, so now it's going to get noisy for a second. I'm just going to throw this back in here. And my little jar back in there. And, okay, so now I've got my heat tool. And it's going to get noisy for a second, so you guys can talk amongst yourselves. So I'm just going to heat it a little bit from the bottom as it warms up. And I'll try and get it so it'll catch the light so you guys can see it go. I think this is one of the most fascinating things to watch because you can literally see it as it melts and turns silver. So then I just have a few spots that weren't melted, so I'm just going to, and there we go. So now we have our month on there. Okay, so this is how we're looking so far, like that. And, okay, so now we're gonna do stamping with our distress oxides. So let's just, we'll do one with the pink first. So I'm going to do the background with the distress oxide of the heart, and then I'm going to stamp it with black on top. So I did do some cupcakes before because I think we're going to color them. So I stamped a cupcake with intense black because I think I want to color it with my distress oxides for you guys. Okay, so So the fun thing too about the Distress Oxide is you can get pretty easily like a first and then a second generation, just because of the different consistency of the ink. So, and we could probably even do a third if I wanted. I'm just going to do another set just so that we can decide how many. We don't have a ton of space, but just so we have some options here. Okay, and then just going to clean that off quickly. And then I'm going to take the outline that says I love you, and I'm going to stamp over top of it with the black to tie in the little black border. So I'm going to try and stamp over top and not miss without knocking my head with the camera because it's so low today. So if it's not perfect, it will be okay. And I'll ink all 4 of them up and we will decide how many we need. That's super cute. It totally reminds me of like old-fashioned Valentine's. And I'll tell you that it's not stamped perfectly, but I also don't really want to, like I said, I don't really want to knock the camera with my head. Okay, but they're kind of cute. Okay, so then my thought was to color the little cupcakes with Distress Oxide. And then I grabbed the little liquid pearls and I was going to add that onto those little hearts of the cupcakes. But I think that I'll do that very last because that's going to take a long time to dry. So here is my mat again. So I have my water brush, and I'm going to do the bottom blue, and then the icing, maybe because we did the hearts with the picked raspberry, I'll do the icing abandoned coral. I don't really know that you very often see abandoned coral icing, but whatever. This can be our whimsical. Okay, so same thing. I'm just putting some of the inks down onto my all-purpose mat, and I'm going to grab my water brush again, and I'm just picking up some of the Distress Oxide, and I'm just going to paint in my cupcake. And so now you can see why I did it before, so that the ink would be dry. Okay, and I'm just going to squeeze all the blue water out. Okay, and so now I'm just going to paint the abandoned coral. And I'm just going to leave this here, my ink on my all-purpose mat. Okay, I'm just going to hit this quickly with my heat tool just to dry it a little bit. And then I'm going to stamp that little heart border on the bottom of the calendar, and I'll color that one in too. Okay, because well, I've already got it down here, I might as well do that. Okay, so then here, my plan was to just stamp that little heart border that looks like the sweetheart candies down here, like that. And I know I don't have the right block here. Okay. Okay, I might stamp this and then we will fussy cut out the pieces before I paint them because this is going to be wet still. Okay, so I'm curious to know who is collecting the month's stamps. I think they're awesome. They're great. Like I said, they're great for cards or scrapbooking. So let's just dry this for 1 second. Okay, and now you guys can watch me fussy cut for a second. Okay, so this is what I'm thinking. This we're going to do like that. And then we will cut out these hearts and the cupcake. So what do you think? Should we use the lighter pink with the cupcake or the darker pink? Because I'm going to fussy cut them, I'm cutting it down so that it's like a manageable piece of paper for me to trim out. Okay, so I'm going to do the cupcake first because it's easier. So I'm just leaving a little tiny border. So my thought process is I'm going to put the cupcake in the middle and we're going to put a heart on each side, was what I'm thinking. So like this, and I'll probably pop it up. Okay, and then I don't know. Let's see. Okay, I'm thinking we might put twine on there, and I think I'm going to go with the full strength hearts. Okay, so this is kind of what I was thinking. And I'm thinking I'm going to put the twine underneath. So I just grabbed the raspberry twine. Okay, so I am going to just use a little bit of tape on one side here so that it's just attached to the back so I can play around with it. And I'm just wrapping it around, and I know I want to have like a little tie over there. So you can wrap it around as many times as you want. And just by adding the score tape on the back, then I don't have to worry about it moving while I am manipulating it. Okay, and so I'm going to just tie a little tie over here, I think. Okay, and then I'm going to pop this up on 3D foam so we can add it to our little black scallop background there. And you could do thin or thick 3D foam tape for this. It doesn't really matter. And I thought of my idea for January. So I think it's going to be cute. So I probably will do January next week so that we filled in the January and February before we get too far into March. And will I still know that you guys can still grab those stamp sets if you want them. But I am loving this little calendar. Okay, so now I'm just going to add this to my black scallop. You could just use a rectangle too, a black rectangle. It doesn't have to be a scallop. Just, I thought that I kind of wanted to play up the little scallop from the hearts. So I also thought that the little cupcake would be super cute if you used the silver embossing powder on it too. So these two I'm going to do right here, and this one I'm going to just tuck in behind like that. It would look cute with silver embellishing thread here too. Just saying, but not everybody has the same love of embellishing thread that I do. Okay, so as you can see, I have the new tweezers, or like new and improved tweezers, are back from close to my heart. And I have to say, it's taken me a while to get used to them again because I had a set that you had to push to open, and this is the opposite, right? You have to push to close them. But holy smokes, are they, like they're great for getting into small spaces. Okay, then I'm going to put this on some thin 3D foam tape just right back behind the top there, because just the little front part is going, the bottom part is going over my twine there. So I don't need foam tape behind it. Okay, so like that. Okay, and then this one we're gonna pop up onto 3D foam tape, and oh, look at that, I just put my scissors in my Distress Oxide, guys. Always, always, always I put something in something. Okay. Okay, so, and add this like that. Sorry, my phone was ringing. Okay, and then, which will interrupt everything if I don't stop it. So I just had to actually figure out where to turn it off. Okay, so I'm just gonna put some 3D foam tape on the top and on the bottom on either side of the twine, right? Just like that. Okay. So there you go. You can see all the different layers. And I'm going to take my piercing tool and I can move this knot because I tied it on the top, right? It's not part of the actual wrapped around part. So I'm just taking my piercing tool and I'm going to pull them apart and then I'm going to trim it. Because I don't want those that long, but I want to make sure I had enough on there. Okay, and so I have normal scissors, like not the non-stick scissors that I use for cutting the twine and ribbon. And then I just have a ribbon tied on them. Half the time though I forget to pull them out. Okay, so just like that. Okay, so that's how that's going to start to come together. So now, okay, we're going to see, hopefully this is dry. Let's color in our little candies for the bottom. I'm just going to add a little bit of the picked raspberry too. Okay, so then I'll add some of the abandoned coral. It probably could have stood a few more minutes to dry, but that's okay. And I kind of wanted to have like the watercolor look. So I'm not coloring it in, like I don't want a perfect color in. I just kind of want it to look like watercolor, but because they're distress oxides, they're brighter. Okay. So there we go. You guys, I think that's enough for the distress oxides. So I'm just going to clean that up and move this out of the way so I don't end up with it on everything. Okay, so we are in the last little bit here. Okay, so there is an up close. I'm just going to give it a second to focus. If I put my finger here. On how the little hearts turned out. Okay. So let's add this. I think again, it is funny. I'm going to use the score tape just because I don't want it to come off, right? I want to make sure that it's going to stay on there. So I could probably also glue it down, but this is a little bit faster while you guys are on camera with me. So like I said, I've come up with a fun idea for the January one, and I kind of measured to see if it's going to work, and I think it's going to work. So I'll do that one next week. And then, oh, some of the other things. So party time, I know people have been waiting for party time. It got a little bit behind. The girl that was checking it for me was just taking a little bit longer than normal. It is ready to go. So after this, I will be pushing publish on that blog post. So anybody that's waiting for the party time workshop, it will be up there. And then later this week, I haven't decided for sure whether it'll be Thursday or Friday. I just kind of need to let a few things play out in my week. I will recreate that pocket page from Extravaganza 2. Okay, so I'm going to put black and white dots on here before I put this pink pearls on here. And I'm trying to decide if I need some silver stickles on the heart. Okay, so I've got black and white dots. So there we go. I need to put the lid on my water brush. Sorry, you guys are like super close in here. You probably are way closer than you really need to be. So I also thought that these black and white dots just kind of played up the Valentine's Day theme. I love black and white dots. And that's why I was so excited with all the other new dots, like the In This Together and the Daisy Meadow dots. I'm just hoping that we're going to have more dots in the annual. Okay, so now I'm just going to take the liquid pearls. So this one is Dazzle. And I'm just going to paint my little hearts. And I'm just kind of bringing them down from both sides so that they keep the shape of the heart. And for sure, as I get that close to it, I think we need silver stickles. Okay. Let's just see. I'm going to test it on here to decide if this is what I want to do. See, that's also one of the reasons that, yep. Okay, so I'm going to add it just on the little scallop pieces around the hearts. That's why it's always good to stamp extras. I could probably have done this too with that Dazzle pearls, but I just wanted to bring in the silver from our embossing. And the stickles will look different once they're all dried. They'll kind of flatten out and fill in their space. So once everything is dry, I will take some pictures and post them, but that's kind of how it looks. It just kind of plays up again the scallop, right, from around the heart to around the outside of the insert edge. Okay, and I'm going to just move this to the side for right now. I'll put a little bit down here. And then once it's dry, I'll put my ribbon back, or my twine back. Okay guys, I think that we're gonna call that one done. Okay, so let's move this out of the way. And I'll pull back March. Well, I guess I should do it like this. February and then March. So I think those turned out really cute, considering I had no plan really, other than I knew there were things I wanted to use. So that is what I have for you guys today. So like I said, in a few minutes I will have party time posted, and the corrections are all done and it's ready to go. Oh, wait till you see, I think you guys are gonna like January. I think it's a fun idea. So and it's not the same as March, and it's not the same as February. So, oh, the distress oxides are so fun. There's so much you could do with them. And like I said, they're different than our regular inks. So they can do different things, which is always fun. So I'm trying not to touch the February one because you guys all know I will end up putting my hand in it. So there we go. There's March and what it looks like. And then here is February. So tomorrow I will come back and do a walkthrough of the Party Time workshop at some point during the day. And then Thursday or Friday, I'm not really sure. Oh, thank you, Melba. I'm not really sure which, but I will recreate that fun layout from Extravaganza. So there's a little live video just right before this one that I'm asking for votes to pick which products we'll use to recreate it. So if you want to go vote, be my guest. And that's what I have for you guys today. I hope you have an awesome Tuesday, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye-bye.